Okay, let's get more reaction to that now then. We can speak live, I'm delighted to say, to the former Lions captain, Sam Warburton. Sam, thanks very much for joining us. That team that we've just seen there, what do you reckon? Is that the team for the first test against Australia?
I think in all the test selections that we've seen, just as game 5 on tour, there's 10 in total. Every week going into this game, you've looked at the team, you've gone, that's a strong team. This is the first time you get a little bit giddy and go, that looks too close to a test team. So it's exciting. There's obviously, I think Andy's right. There's guys in this team now who they probably, when they left to go to Australia, this is probably what the coach, I imagine, would have had penciled in as their test team. But if you don't play well on Wednesday and somebody plays brilliant on Saturday, then of course there's still going to be some 50-50s in there, and there are still some 50-50 calls. But it definitely does look like the closest to a testing that we've seen on traditional tours. That Saturday team normally gets closely linked, so you play Saturday. Test matches are on a Saturday, obviously on Sky Sports, but on a Wednesday it feels like that's the test team, and then they're going to have potentially like a 10-11 day preparation turnaround period to help them prepare, rather than play this Saturday then only have a 7-day turnaround. So it's slightly different to what has happened on tours traditionally, but it's got a strong test team feel about it.
Yeah. What do you think about that, actually? As you say, it's not normally the traditional way to do it, but do you like it? Because it gives them, the test team anyway, in theory, gives them more days to prepare.
100%. And when I've played international rugby, sometimes the hardest campaigns are the games. It's not the Six Nations, because the Six Nations, you play 5 games across 7 weeks. It's actually the autumn internationals in November, when you play 4 top teams, Saturday. To play that intensity for 4 weeks in a row is very difficult, actually, emotionally and physically. So I think it's actually really smart from Andy, if that is part of the master plan, because if you ended up playing the test team 2 Saturdays together before the test series, then majority of them play 3 Saturdays in a row. 5 Saturdays in a row is so emotionally and physically draining. So I think it's smart to play the majority of the team now, if we are second guessing that is the team, which it looks is very strongly is. And then they're going to have a nice run into that first test. They're going to have a little bit of a break between this game and potentially test number 1, presuming that those players who were picked on Wednesday all go well. So I do like it.
Now, I saw you guys in the studio the other day selected your starting test 15s, obviously before that Andy Farrell had picked this side against the Brumbies. And it was very similar, to be fair to you guys, but maybe 1 or 2 slight differences. Who else do you think is really pushing? Who else could come into that 15?
Yeah, no, it's very close, which hopefully means we're doing our job as pundits reasonably well for Sky Sports. But the one who I think has got a big shot, a big one on Wednesday without putting too much pressure, there's probably 2 players in the pack. At number 7, Tom Curry. He played in the Test series 4 years ago for the Lions as a Test starter, and he is one of the Lions' world-class players. Probably hasn't had as much game time this at the back end of this season as some of the other 7s, and a Welsh player called Jack Morgan has played exceptionally well at number 7. Number 7 is always a hotly contested position. But Tom Curry, if he has a big game, which I think, and he does have world class in him, he's an exceptional player. Anyone who's listened to me speak about rugby knows I'm a huge fan of Tom Curry. So he's got a massive opportunity at number 7. Ollie Chesham at number 6 as well, who I think people might have seen come under the radar because he has been injured, but he's that big, tall 6, so I think is needed in the game these days. But most notably, Tadhg Furlong, he's playing tight head. I think a lot of people think Will Stuart is the number 1 at the minute, who's the Bath in England tight head prop, wearing number 3. But Tadhg Furlong is his 3rd Lions tour. Very, very well known as being one of the Lions' world-class players, but has had his injury troubles. So he's got an opportunity to play his 2nd game or start his 2nd game on tour. So it's a massive one for him, because I think the Lions want him to be hitting his top-class levels at tight head, because he is one of the world's best tight heads when he's on form. So he's got a huge opportunity. And then at the centre partnerships as well, it's really a toss of a coin between, do you go for the Scottish centre partnerships of Tuipulotu and Hugh Jones, who are both exceptional, and Bundyaki, who's starting 12 today, on Wednesday, with his teammate Gary Ringrose, again, both Irish. So, I think they're going to go with the Scottish or the Irish centre pairings. The Scottish played 5 days ago. So they're probably the positions that are up for grabs, but you're literally talking toss of a coin, as it should be, because we've got the best players from Britain and Ireland on this tour. There is such small margins between these players, which is why it makes it so interesting, because it's like a a real life game of fantasy rugby manager. You know, it's brilliant. It's just great entertainment. So that's why people get giddy about the Lions. So a few selections potentially up for grabs.
Yeah, and everyone, of course, plays themselves, don't they? They really enjoy picking their own team straight after that first game. If we look at the tour as a whole, there were 14 handling errors against the Waratahs on Saturday. Some people have questioned the complexity of Andy Farrell's attacking moves. Do you think that's fair?
Ireland are arguably the best attacking team in the world. And so, as you can imagine, there's a strong Irish contingent in the coaching group and a strong Irish contingent in the playing group. But to be fair to the coaches, they've given everybody an opportunity to play on this tour. This team that has been picked on Wednesday, in the starting 15, there's 8 Irish. Strong Irish spine, which I think you need. For example, the Lions lost to Argentina on their first game. But then England have just played Argentina and they beat them quite convincingly. And it was a very similar Argentinian team, which the Lions, you'd think on paper, well, they should win then if that's the case, because their players are top class players. But it just shows how continuity, combinations play a big factor in winning a test match. So given the fact there's the 8 Irish starting, I think it'll give the Lions more accuracy. And we're seeing some of the ill accuracy here. I think it's because the Lions, it's not because they're poor players or they don't catch a ball. These are like world-class players. I think it's maybe just a lack of knowing the structure. So once a game plan is grooved in your mind, you think less and you're much more instinctive on the field. And I think having that spine of Irish players playing on Wednesday will help that continuity in attack. And then a lot of those handle errors will be erased because people will naturally fall into the system more. One, because there's more Irish who can lead that. And two, the more time on tour, the more understanding you have as a team.
Yeah, in your 2 tours with the Lions, how easy was it to switch from the style you were used to playing with your country to a different style?
It's like the actual game is fine, but then the systems, it does take time because you have completely different calls. Slightly, there's different subtleties in your attacking setup. So when you're in a rugby game, and people might not sympathise with this, but when you're in rugby, your heart rate is flatlining at pretty much 160 to 180 all game. You know, like you're under extreme fatigue and pain for best part of 2 hours, unless you're in the half-time sheds, of course. So when you're under that extreme fatigue, you do revert to what you naturally know, which is what you do at club, what you do at country. So it does take time to groove these calls and learnings. Like we've seen high profile examples in England football, 10, 15 years ago. You've got the golden generation who never quite clicked. And you wonder, is it that kind of thing with the Lions? Is it that difficult to bring together? So I think that when you get to test time, there's no excuses though then. Because you've had 6 games, you've had 4 or 5 weeks on tour getting to know each other. There's no excuses. In these warm-up games, it's fine. I don't mind seeing these handling errors. I actually expect it. I expect lineouts to be overthrown. I expect errors in set piece and in breakdowns and things like that. But when it comes to test team time, you're world-class players. You've had enough time to get ready. So I think now is okay to make these mistakes. Make these mistakes now. You're going to have some pretty brutal team meetings where you get some really good learning. And that's what is great about rugby environments. But come test time, which is a week Saturday, when the Lions play their first test against Australia, then there's no excuses. You've had enough preparation.
And just finally, I mean, it's a small sample size so far, and we'll see him again on Wednesday. But how impressed have you been with Maro Itoje's leadership so far?
Awesome. I thought he was going to be the Lions captain even 4 years ago, just given his age profile. It's a massive, massive responsibility and amount of pressure. But Maro has been on multiple World Cups, gone really deep into World Cups with England. This is his 3rd Lions tour. He was player of the series going back 4 years ago. He's seen and done it all. He was outstanding in his last game that he played, and I mean like the best player on the field, and he was at his absolute best, which is what you want to see from your captain. And he said himself pre-tour, the ultimate way that you lead is by walking the walk and by your performance. And his performance was exceptional in his last outing. So I love the look of him and Joe McCarthy in the second row. I really like the sort of athlete combined with the enforcer. Maro is the athlete, exceptional athlete, really mobile around the field. And Joe McCarthy, who's from Ireland, he's your aggressor, big physical man that you need in international rugby. Those two together have a lovely combination. I'm looking forward to seeing them play on Wednesday.